Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Nigh. Welcome back to the deep dive. And today is going to be a pretty foundational talk that I'm going to give you about about deuterium. And it's foundational in the sense that in a lot of other of these that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to refer back to this one for anyone who doesn't really understand exactly what deuterium is and why I happen to think it's one of the most cruxy things there can be with relation to health. This is just to give you an overview of deuterium and where it is and what it's doing. So, deuterium is everywhere in nature, everywhere in the universe. It's part of everything because it is everywhere that we find hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and so deuterium makes up a very significant amount of the mass of the universe, actually. So on Earth, again, deuterium is present. It's built into nature. Deuterium is an isotope of hydrogen. I'm not going to show you diagrams because you don't really need to understand the atomic structure. You just need to know that hydrogen has a proton in the nucleus and an electron in the orbit. 1, 1. Deuterium is a proton and electron, but now there's an extra neutron in the nucleus. That makes deuterium twice as heavy as normal hydrogen. Normal. Deuterium is really hydrogen. I mean, it has the same atomic name, but we just give it a unique name because it is so unique in nature and in biology and the way it behaves. Instead of calling it hydrogen, we just give it a name, deuterium. So deuterium is everywhere. If we were to check the ID of every hydrogen atom out there in nature, we would find that about one out of every 6,500 of them is not actually the normal hydrogen, it's actually deuterium. So it's in water, it's in the food we're eating, the carbohydrates we eat, they have all these hydrogens on them, the fats, the whole, all of it. At some small number, one in every 6,500 ish, that's actually a deuterium. And that's a big deal because deuterium, it does have some positive roles in our body as long as it's where it's supposed to be. So we're taking it all the time. The water we're drinking has about 150 parts per million of deuterium. The food that we're eating, carbohydrate has a lot more deuterium, protein has a little less, fats have the lowest deuterium. But it's constantly coming in. And so this deuterium is coming in, and our bodies have to regulate where it goes. So bones get stronger when deuterium gets built into them, and it sort of locks that deuterium away. Teeth get stronger when deuterium gets built in, locks it away. And actually, deuterium plays a more fundamental role in embryology, where deuterium, and think about cancer, deuterium stimulates cell division. And so it has a positive regulating role in embryonic development to help stimulate cell division. Outside of those limited areas, deuterium is toxic. It actually is a toxin that our cells have to manage so that it doesn't gunk things up. And probably the most important place that it becomes a toxin that at least that people have heard a lot about is in the mitochondria. So the mitochondria we all know as the powerhouse of the cell. Now it's understood to do lots of things beyond just powering the cell. But fundamental is that it does generate the ATP that is the currency of energy for cellular function. There are other ways cells get energy, but ATP is the main one. And the way that system works, again, without going into too much boring detail, is that a flow of protons, remember, hydrogen is proton, electron. So protons get to the mitochondria and they go down this hole. It's actually a turbine. They go through it. It spins a wheel incredible with 3,000 revolutions per second happening in our mitochondria. This wheel that's spinning. And as it's spinning, those protons are going through, spinning the turbine, and it is generating ATP as it spins. The energy of the spin generates the ATP. The thing is, if instead of a normal proton, if if deuterium gets into the picture and deuterium that nucleus is able to make its way through, whereas a proton and a neutron combined, now it's twice as heavy. When it goes through the pump, it causes it to sputter. It makes it less efficient when it goes through. The more deuterium that comes in and heads through that funnel, the more sputtering that happens in the mitochondria. The slower that thing spins, the less ATP generated, and it is an energy depleting activity that's going on. And the more it happens, the less free energy is available to our cells and ultimately to our being. So management of deuterium at the cell level is exceedingly important. And I'm going to be doing many other videos that will talk about the specifics and all the different areas of the body where deuterium management is important. But the most important to understand is just sort of the foundational knowledge is that deuterium is going to come in. You can't get away from deuterium because it's built into our food. You can buy water that is deuterium depleted water. Now, people will try to sell you devices where you like make it, it's called DDW, deuterium depleted water. Devices that make DDW at home, that's not really a feasible process, at least not for depleting deuterium down to the levels that it really becomes therapeutic. Purchasing the water is a fairly expensive endeavor. Again, I'm going to talk more about those things because ultimately I think the cost benefit ratio is pretty good for deuterium depleted water as a therapy. So you can drink deuterium depleted water as a way of depleting body deuterium. You can eat a diet that is deuterium depleted. You can do some other activities, and I'll be going into all these things that help the body to both regulate and minimize the deuterium load in the body. And a topic of several articles that I've been involved in authoring, that some of which a few have been published and a few are in the peer review process now and should be published before long, showing that the microbiome in the gut is playing a foundational role in not only managing the deuterium that comes in and kind of scrubbing the food that comes in of deuterium and helping it get cleared out, but then also building new organic molecules from this kind of a deuterium depleted environment. And the hydrogen gas that has been it's always being produced by the bacteria in our gut. That hydrogen gas is deuterium depleted. And those hydrogens are now being used to build organic molecules like butyrate, methane or methyl groups, lactate, formate, lots of other methyl groups that are now deuterium depleted because our gut bugs are building them. And this is why dysbiosis, or having a gut that is all messed up, it's another very severe consequence of that problem. It's not just that it makes us feel, bloaty and food doesn't set right, but it is actually compromising our ability to maintain a low deuterium environment in our bodies, in our cells, in our mitochondria, all the way down to the very, subcellular components. All right, that is what I hope is a general overview of what deuterium is and why I think it is a sort of a crown jewel of therapeutic strategies for, of course, it's in the realm of naturopathic or alternative medicine. It should be in all of medicine. Conventional medicine should be as concerned about this as I am, but of course not. That's all I'll say about deuterium right now. If there are any questions, of course, put them in the comments. If you want to hear more about the specific areas that deuterium is making appearances in the body and how its regulation is important, I will be going into that in other videos. So please do subscribe to this one. Tell your friends and family and post it on social media and let people know. And I will be talking about this more. Thanks for joining me.